Now we're going to look at the next stage of the construction of the tray for our maze game. We've carefully cut 4 pieces of wood with halving joints. We've marked out and cut halving joints. The pieces of wood, we've checked them all to see that they're the same length. We've checked them all together, and we've made other quality control checks. We've sanded the edges, and we've made sure that there's no rough edges. So these have all been marked out and cut accurately, and we have no rough edges. We also have a base here. The base, we have also just checked that it's square, used a tri-square, checked that it's square, and we've sanded the edges of the base. We're now going to use some PVA glue, and what we're going to do is we're going to stick the parts of the tray onto the base. And we do this by taking a small bead of PVA glue on here. Remember, the PVA glue is quite safe, but if you do get it on your clothes, wash it off with water before it dries, because once it's dry, it's much more difficult to get off. When you're gluing the joint, a small bead along the base there, and also in the joint, remember, we've created the joint to make the halving joint to make it stronger, so make sure you get glue on each of those faces. That one's going to go there, and then we've got to put the 2 other pieces on. These we need to put glue along this edge, the shorter edge. So we're putting glue here, and of course not remembering to get glue into the joints, and we're putting that down there. If you want to, it's a good idea to do a dry run first. A dry run is where you fit it to the box without using glue, hence dry run. And that way you can check that all the pieces are going to fit onto your base correctly. Last of all, we're going to put glue onto here. And fit that together. Now you'll find with the glue on that that should stay together pretty well. What you need to do though is make sure this is square, and we use this tri-square. It's called a tri-square, 3 points, 90 degrees, and we just try that on and make sure that that is absolutely square and glued. We also make sure that any gaps are closed up, and then to hold that, we can either leave that just to dry as it is. If it's in place correctly, it should dry. It needs to dry for at least an hour for the PVA to dry, preferably longer. If you're worried about it moving, a small amount, about 30 centimetres of masking tape wrapped around both ways will just hold it until the glue dries. Once the glue's dry, that will be really strong and we can move on to the next stage.